So we have departed Suncoast, the prequel. We've moved into the current episode. And last week, we talked about our flight plan for transformation. And we started by following a flight plan for our destination on Spirit Air. Spirit Air, flight to transformation. And it's going to fly us right into the sequel of Suncoast, soaring to even greater heights than we have flown to before. And remember our little acronym. I'm going to keep doing this until I'm sure you are doing this while you're brushing your teeth. Because that flight is going to take us into those heights where we point far. If you remember it, do it with me. We program our thoughts and our feelings to empower our actions for fantastic results that point us far, right? Flight plan for our destination. That's where it starts. Now, it's important that we prepare carefully for our journey to transformation. One of the things we can do is to use the 6 P's. Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. Okay, ready? Proper prior planning prevents poor performance. I should have put that on a slide. But that's okay, I have faith in you that you can do that. The 6 P's. Because when we do those 6 P's, well done means that well begun means that we're halfway done. So that proper prior planning preventing poor performance is the well begun, so that we are halfway done, halfway to the destination. So what would some of those things be that we would do in our pre-flight check? Well, we think about what it is that we need to pack. So we want to really think about and reflect on and maybe start some lists of everything and everybody that we're going to need to take on this journey with us. So be thinking about what are the things that we need to take with us? Who are the people we want on that flight with us? We want to be proactive. We want to plan ahead for every eventuality. So we want to anticipate that there might be some flight delays, like our annual meeting. That's a little flight delay that we're having. We're having a stopover at membership class. Right? So we want, and sometimes flights even get canceled. So far we're not canceling anything. So, but we are having that little detour, that little delay. So have a plan B for those delays and distractions and detours. Like we created a plan B. And we created the membership class, and we've got the list back there so that we can get everything in alignment and clean and clear and ready and prepared and packed for our flight. Anticipate and plan ahead for turbulence. This is a pilot speaking, and we may run into some unexpected turbulence, so we ask that you fasten your seatbelts. That's a good start, fasten your seatbelts. Anticipate that there might be challenges and obstacles along the way. There may be some downdrafts where we kind of have to take a different route. There might be some problems or some reversals or some temporary setbacks. We might run into that turbulence and have to fly below it or fly above it or fly around it. There may be some learning curves along the way. We may learn some things about how to fly right, which require some upgrades in our skills and knowledge. So constantly upgrading those. We need to manage our responses to turbulence. Number 1, do not get frustrated, angry, or discouraged. That will serve no one. And it will not get us to where we're going any faster or any more accurately. Do, however, do this. Breathe, be calm, and think solution. Think creatively. You might practice that now. Breathe, be calm, think creatively. And here's a good thing, ask questions. Ask questions for clarity. Get the facts. Clarify problems before acting on them. So, this past couple of weeks, the board and I were taking some actions only to realize we hadn't clarified some things before we took those actions. Therefore, we had our little flight delay and our stopover. But that's okay, we're still getting there. Accept responsibility, take charge, take the lead on this flight. As the pilot, and we're all pilots on this flight, by the way, we're all gonna get a chance to be the pilot. Keep your hands on the wheel, that's always a good plan. Your eyes on the gauges, and fly in the right direction. And you do that by all of these things that we're preparing for. And determine and take right action in the midst of all of that. So here are some tools that we can use for flying through turbulence. In actual flying, both of my brothers are pilots, by the way. So I know a little bit about flying, and I had some lessons myself from my brothers. In flying, the word attitude actually means the angle of flight or the approach to the horizon, which I think is kind of a neat thing. How we think about problems and challenges are about our attitude or approach to what's before us and to where we're going. So it's kind of cool metaphor. I don't have to tell my brother, I think more highly of him all of a sudden because he's had this good attitude all this time. Didn't even realize it. One of the ways that we can get our attitude, get our mind right, is to upgrade our language. It's one of the first upgrades we can do, upgrade our language. Instead of approaching things as though they are problems, perhaps we could move it to an upgrade of, it's not a problem, it's a situation. We can upgrade even further, by the way. There's a new update. We can upgrade situation to challenge. Challenges are good things. They pull us into our greater yet to be. But there's an even better upgrade. We can move challenge into transformative opportunity. And it gets even better. The latest upgrade is this. It is ultimately a gift or a blessing. Every one of those things that we thought originally was a problem is ultimately a gift or a blessing. You know the old story. There's a room full of you know what. There's got to be a pony in here somewhere. That is the ultimate blessing. Napoleon Hill taught this. He said, every problem or difficulty you face contains the seed of an equal or greater advantage or benefit. So know that. Every difficulty has a gift in it for you. So one of the other tools we can use to fly through turbulence is to unlock our mental powers. And they are immense, by the way. But we have to do some choosing and some discerning. We need to choose our discerning limbic, more advanced brain to make decisions and choices rather than our reactive reptilian brain, which is less advanced. Okay, so we're going to respond rather than react to things. We want to plan ahead for headwinds. Sometimes we'll run into headwinds as we fly. You've been on flights where that's happened, right? Some of the headwinds come in the form of other people who disappoint us, or they don't follow through, or they simply just don't care. It could be a headwind. Don't let it set you off course. A headwind might come in the form of something like a financial issue. Things may cost more than we thought they did. The funding for things may be slower to come than we hoped it would. A headwind might come in the form of personal things, like we lack the skills and the discipline and the leadership that we need to get where we want to get to right in this moment, and so we have to upgrade. Okay, but we're already doing some upgrading, right? Now, a good pilot knows all about turbulence and accepts that turbulence is a normal part of the flight, and we learn to navigate through any storm effectively, and we continue to press forward to make progress toward our intended destination, no matter what. To soar with eagles into the heights of the heavens, into the heights of our dreams, and to live the life that we love to live, individually and collectively. This is not just about Suncoast. This is about you and you and you and you and you and you. And it's about all of us. And it's about the one of us. It's about this community. It's about what's possible. And it's about living ourselves right into that possibility and beyond, to infinity and beyond, as Buzz Lightyear would say. Because remember this, that the journey is assured if we are prepared and awake. The journey is assured already in the mind of spirit. It's fully formed, simply waiting for us to be prepared and awake to join the journey. Now, we prepare for takeoff with a checklist. And I gotta tell you, good pilots do this. Like I said, my brothers are both pilots. My oldest brother actually got his pilot's license before he got his driver's license. And my parents used to have to drive him out to the airfield so he could fly somewhere. Crazy, right? But nonetheless, and he's older than I am, so he's like really old. And so he's not going to see this, is he? No. Yeah, I'll tell him, stay off of YouTube. Anyway, I say that to emphasize that he's been flying for a very, very long time. He has been teaching other people how to fly. He was an inspector for the Federal Avionics Administration or Aviation Administration. So he's a very experienced pilot. He always uses a checklist for his pre-flight check. As experienced as he is, he always refers back to the checklist. And so we got to be very clear about where we're going and what things would look like if everything was going perfectly. To have a very clear destination in mind with vision and intention and goals. And so we want to list all the things that we must be and do in order to achieve that destination, that intention. To imagine anything that might go wrong and prepare with provisions for all of that. To get information from other people who may have taken a similar journey. You know, we don't have to reinvent everything. We can learn from others. We can stand on the shoulders of those who've gone before us. To read and to study about the destination we're headed toward and all of the potential routes for getting there. To really apply ourselves, to think through and plan every detail, to write out plan A and write out plan B, so that we are organized and ready to actually taxi down the runway and take off. And remember, the journey is assured if you say yes to Spirit's yes. Remember last week I talked a little bit, well, the week before, Tim talked about just that little yes that he said that changed his whole life. And last week I piggybacked on that and said, what if that little tiny yes is a little tiny domino, which has the ability, when it's lined up with other dominoes, to knock down the one behind it that is 50% greater than it is. And the next one is 50% greater than that one, and 50% greater and greater and greater, until by the 18th, we've knocked over the Leaning Tower of Pisa, finally. The thing's been leaning forever. By the 23rd, we've knocked over the Eiffel Tower. And by the time we get to the 31st, we've knocked over Mount Everest. And by the time we get to the 58th, we're over the moon. That's the power of that first little tiny yes. It topples all the rest of the things that we have lined up. Saying yes to Spirit's yes, that's the beginning. And this kind of goes back to the song that Tim did at the beginning, the Junk Meal Surprise. And for years we've seen this message on billboards and in magazines, and mostly you get it constantly in your mailbox. And yet, we almost always ignore it, tear it up and throw it away. You are pre-approved. You're already pre-approved. And so what I'm talking about are those credit card invitations, right? It says, you're pre-approved. And yet, what if we thought about those as Spirit's yes to us? A reminder that Spirit's constantly saying yes to our good. And yet we brush it off the same way that we do those credit card applications. What if we didn't brush it off so readily? And we really took in that idea that we are pre-approved already. And I believe that we are all pre-approved by the biggest creditor of all, by Spirit itself. That we are pre-approved for takeoff on Spirit Air. Okay, so let's remember that. The journey is assured because we are pre-approved for takeoff. Ernest Holmes taught, the one seeking to demonstrate the power of spiritual realization in everyday affairs should believe in divine guidance. He should affirm that his mind is continually impressed with the images of right action, and that everything in his life is controlled by love, harmony, and peace, that everything he does prospers, and that the eternal energy back of all things animates everything he undertakes. You're pre-approved. You're pre-approved. How cool is that? You know, take the chocks out from in front of the wheels of the plane and let's start taxiing down the runway because we're pre-approved for takeoff. So get ready for takeoff. Get ready. Have your flight plan in hand. That's that clear intention and the plan that unfolds it. Be flexible, be specific enough, but not confining. Don't make that plan rigid so that you can't get out of the box. And here's a big one. Board the plane. Board the plane. You know, a friend of mine had gifted me a trip to Hawaii this one time. And it's December in Seattle, and I'm gonna go to Hawaii. I'm like, yeah. So I'm ready to board the plane. I was ready to board the plane days before the plane was ready for me to board it. But I'm ready to board the plane. And I'm telling you, this was the slowest boarding process I had ever seen in my entire life. And I'm standing there going, board the plane! So let's not do that, okay? Let's board the plane, and then we're going to taxi to the runway. That's where the excitement starts to happen. Taxi to the runway. The courage of that first step is what gets us in motion. It takes that first step, that first domino, remember that first yes, and then trust that the universe will support us and reveal to us the next steps as we go, okay? Because we're going to be looking at our little map the whole flight. The universe will be supporting that and revealing it. Get clearance from the tower and then accelerate down the runway. So in other words, Spirit is calling us from the tower. You are good to go. I'm saying yeah. Taxi down the runway. So we step out in faith and we prepare for takeoff. And this is important too. This is almost as important as board the plane. Give it full throttle, full commitment. Because if we don't, we'll fall off the edge of the runway. And we're just kind of going, right? Full throttle, full commitment, all in. So we have to stay focused and be persistent, be our best. And we have to commit to continuing to upgrade, continual learning, continual adjusting as we go. And then be ready and steady for liftoff and wheels up. Keep moving forward toward that destination and enjoy the insights in flight. That would be your in-flight entertainment. We're headed home. We're headed home to our life that is our authentic beingness, individually and collectively, to the life that we love to live, the life that we love to live and that we love to share with others, to the future, the sequel that is Suncoast Center for Spiritual Living. Pre-flight check gets us approved for takeoff. Next week, we'll be in the air. All right? Blessings on your journey with Spirit Air Flight to Transformation. Chart your course, file your flight plan, do a pre-flight check. You are now approved for takeoff. And so it is.